Thank you all for joining me here today. Today, I have the fabulous Traci Mahan joining me from down in Houston to talk all about her own journey of healing and all the beauty and mischief that entailed. How are you today, Traci?
I am well. I am beautifully well to be in your company. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. I know that you are a busy woman yourself. Where did your story begin?
Mm. I have a, a story where I lived so long in the story of my mother being a 16-year-old child herself when she gave birth to me, and my dad being young and 19, and feeling that love between them and how I was created in love and then brought up in chaos as a result of just young love and understanding that we're all now born through some struggle to really become polished and shined on the other end, maybe some half a century later. It's really a journey of understanding now who I am as a result of every twist and turn that I've had throughout my life. And understanding that everything is all for me, even the darkest parts, even the happiest parts, because to the depth of my pain and suffering, I've witnessed so many others in their own pain and suffering as well. And as well, being now on the other side of most of my pain and suffering, I can now see the lessons and love the lessons that I've been through and really find that it's all for us to discover and rediscover and be with intimately so that we can be as best as we can reaching back to others and support them through their pain and suffering to the best joy that there is of living this life here.
See, and I love that you say that because many have joked that my life is the perfect embodiment of yin and yang, equal pain and suffering for equal abundant joy. And, I don't like to encourage the suffering, but if on the other side you get equal joy, it's worth it. And being there in the equal joy, it's so much more than worth it to find your way through. No matter the pain, no matter the situation, just get through it.
One step, keep taking the steps and recognizing that we can self-source, and learning I was a source of my own was took decades of discovery. And again, yeah, I agree to the depth of that pain of childhood stress, childhood invasion, childhood abandonment, all the things, right? It's actually for us to learn from. And I wouldn't be who I was now if I skated through life. I think those people are actually boring. The stories that we receive and actually are receive, the stories we go through in our head is how we perceive life, and we get an opportunity to change our story, to change the narrative. And yeah, I wouldn't wish the depth of my pain on anyone. And yet it has been for instance, I'll share specifically last week was a little hard for me because I got to witness my one of my kids going through being in the hospital. And part of my journey, similar to yours, is a health journey. And would I wish her being in the hospital and having this rare disease? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And one of the worst pains, again, is going through to see one of your kids going through something that, like, I give birth to her and I could second guess it. That doesn't serve me. What serves me is to be present for how I can share with her how to put one foot in front of the other and to look ahead that this is a limited time. This too shall pass. As cliche as it may sound, it's freaking true. How can we see this moment, learn from the lesson, even love that we're going through it? That's the lesson. And that's when you receive the joy of like, oh my gosh, I'm free. And on the other side of really saying, when she's now free, I can even rejoice even more that I was able to stay with her now that she's out of the hospital. She's reclaimed some of her own identity back and her yes again in herself. That's what I went through. Then I will go through that a million times, 1,000 times to be there for her, to make it to be potentially easier for somebody else to go through the pain and suffering. That's what I believe is the lesson, is the love. That's the joy. If you can find joy in anything, right? Enthusiasm in the pain elevates us to go through the pain.
Exactly. I mean, had anyone told me when I was hemiplegic as a teenager that today, even after countless broken bones, I would be at a point where I can go for endless walks and even jogs, I would say, I don't believe you, but I'll try. And now that I have my athleticism back, I don't care about anything. Bad day, go for a run. Not in the right headset, go for a mine. Like just go out, be outside, walk it off. Like when a teacher in high school used to send the unfocused kid to go for laps, it's no, just step outside the office and go deal with your bad attitude until you come back with a different one.
That was a smart teacher. We should, I could have used that teacher for my kids or myself. Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Movement is actually very, very true. And I'm imagining when you were limited in movement, um, how much you held in and then being free to move. Gosh, what a blessing. Every movement then can be a blessing. When you don't have something and now you have it, when I have health now in my body, it's fucking amazing. It's liberating.
Exactly. And
And that joy. Yeah.
and anyone who hasn't gone through chronic illness, extreme sickness, anything on that level, they walk around miserable because they don't realize how damn good they have it.
Yes. I only laugh to agree. Yeah. That's why I say life is a gift and literally because for me it was receiving a gift of life that they call that and literally then at a separate time receiving breath, noticing that I could breathe and receive a different gift of life, of literally living inside of me in this vessel that I used to be so angry at and so feeling so disconnected from. Now feel more connected and deeply in love with myself than ever before in a beautiful like this is why I'm here reason. And how can we exude this? How can we wake up energetically expressing this? And I do. And even those closest to me, even recently, which is beautiful, have told me, I don't choose to know how you live this way. And I just don't see it. And it's because those, and I say that too, Reese, it's, it's for the rare who can go through and actually have faced life and death and saying, okay, if this is death, that's okay. But then to receive life after that again is to go, okay, what can I choose now? To self identify that I get to choose. I get to choose, period. The fact that we can choose, choosing stupid stuff like what you're going to eat, choosing big stuff like who you're going to love. Who am I to not love myself? Like getting to really get into what really matters in this planet in my lifetime in my own universe because we're all creating our own universe and our own reality. That's the stuff then begins to make so much more sense than the little trivia minutia. Of course I'd like money, of course I like material things, I'd like to have a car that I can actually securely and safely get to work. I really understanding that that is a side effect of understanding now that there is some kind of a what I like to say, a trapeze under me. Or I'm on a trapeze, living life and loving life, feeling every day as a gift and living it to full capacity, meeting people like you, brand new and excited to meet people, because that's a thrill. Like I'm on this trapeze and still know there really is a safety net under me. There is a safety net. I've received not one, but two transplants. And that gave me, oh my gosh, two different experiences and even more depth of understanding of I don't want to go there. What can I choose today to keep healthy and keep living the best life possible? Because it is a gift.
And exactly, getting to that point where nothing else matters and it's making the most of each day, each moment, and being able to not just process our emotions, but
Mhm.
release them because no matter the trivial crap going on in our heads, life is beautiful.
Ah, I like where you're going with this one, if I may. Recently heard somebody talk about creating and sensing a new emotion. I'm like, what the heck did that mean? And I explored that. I wanted to contemplate that for a little while. And what I came up to, again, I'll go back to last week, was very painful to see my daughter there, yet I knew I had wisdom to share with her too. And just this almost an observation of how you can be in your body and observe it from high up, up above. I could sense that in me and notice this brand new sense of like an emotion that I couldn't really put a label on, like so much pride for where she was and sorrow too, so much pride for who I was able to be as a mother, noticing this mother able to share wisdom with her daughter in a precarious situation. She's on dialysis, she's having sickness and really could be fatal, and understanding that there's a bigger picture here, babe, to her. You got to take care of yourself. And just it's a sense of a new emotion. I loved it. And it was difficult, but I stayed with the emotion and let it wash through, stayed with the conversation. And as a result, we got to a new place with our relationship. And she found more solace in herself, went back and started to do better, right? In whatever quote unquote better means. But she found her own resolve as a, if I hadn't said anything, she could have just still stayed in this little victim, why me, blah, blah, blah. And victimhood is probably one of the saddest, except for maybe, um, really feeling like you're self-abandoning in a way. And that's one of the saddest emotions that you could be in, or states rather. And I love that what you said, a feeling an emotion and understanding sometimes they're just a wave. Feels uncomfortable as fuck, but let's go through feeling uncomfortable. That's how we grow.
Exactly. Like I could still be in a wheelchair or a bed. I those could be my two locations that I'm stuck at today. I'm
Yeah,
not. And
without resolve and going, it's your
and
spirit.
and the anger. Oh,
Mm.
there was so much anger going from competing athlete to vegetable.
Mhm.
And that is why one of my favorite quotes in my second book is, "You can be anything you want in this life. At one point I was a vegetable and now I'm a woman."
You were still a woman. I love that. That's really good.
It's very cheeky to those that understand it.
Well, I could imagine a lot of things with that, and that could be a lot of fun. And I will say that, yeah, you could be, because you were relishing this body. We put this body through a lot, and our bodies can tolerate a lot more than we realize.
Mhm.
Our minds are the ones that are the jail quite often.
Exactly. And in mastering our minds, we get to this place where we have all this grace. I mean, even when the child in my life is being a menace, I handle it with complete patience and grace. Because frankly, in the years where I was more frontlines in my work and dealing with distraught, high risk teenagers, those are generally suicidal. And they are a lot harder to deal with than a menace of a child. And I look at that child with, a glimmer in my eye and a smirk on my face. You're gonna stop doing this now. And if you're not going to do it, I'm just going to walk away. And then I walk away. And sometimes he'll pitch a fit, but I don't give it the attention because then you're enabling the behavior. And I can be on the phone with a friend while this happens, and the friend goes, "Well, we used to make fun of you for your very short fuse. You have now mastered the art of patience."
Well, you also see the hierarchy of the needs there. Yeah, beautiful.
Right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs was very helpful in that. It's, no, I need peace, and you need to go away.
Yes, we're safe and secure to say that and trust that they'll be okay. Great job. Yeah.
Well, then
Yeah.
luckily he's not a danger to himself. He's just 8.
Absolutely. And they get the sense that it's okay to also voice being a tantrum. Telling kids to be quiet was part of my personal issues. Be quiet, be heard. Kids are to see and not be heard, and go in the basement to eat. And we've seen enough of you now. You can go downstairs and play. And oh, by the way, you can eat down there, all the kinds of things. So I love that. I think times have really changed and for the better as well, for
Right? Or
allowing.
even times when he wants to play and I don't have the capacity. Oh, I'm trying to escape because I don't have the capacity, and like we all did as children, he will latch onto an ankle. And little does he realize I'm gonna drag you around the entire top floor of this house now. Or if that's the game, I am gonna play.
Do you have one?
Well, he's not even mine. He's my housemate's, but I definitely am an adult in his life now.
Awesome.
The rest of my babies are kids that adopted me when they were teens in my social work setting, and to this day, they're all grown up and they all talk to me regularly.
You have a calming about you. We just met, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
You have a calm about you that is attractive to most people, especially if anyone's had dysregulation and emotionally all over the place. So you do have a calming around you. How long have you had that, or been aware of that?
My whole damn life.
Mm.
And and I mean even at the age of 4 and 5, being able to have adult level conversations with people close to 10 times my age. And the maturity and the wit have always been there. I One of my grandmother's closest friends has always said it. She's like, "No, I enjoyed you as a child because you can contribute to these conversations because you have this air about you, this old soulness." Like, honey, it's always been my old soulness. Maybe this is luckily the last life and I finally learn all the damn lessons.
Yes. That is part of it, is to understand that there is a what point. Now, for me, it literally took until I was 50 to have this awareness. And I have a spiritual through line through my whole life. Yet it took until after 50 to go, oh, I'm awake now. And understand that depth of what you just said, and how many lifetimes are we going through that we're experiencing the same thing over and over and over. And to that same experience of the pain and suffering, to the beauty of seeing everything, is what I believe is the energy of understanding emotions are part of that. That it's beautiful to go through pain, because if you haven't yet gone through that depth of pain, there's actually, when you're in that beauty, you find resolve, hopefully. You find inner intuitiveness. You get to lean on those other sensations that you didn't have. For you, I wondered if that would be the case.
Always. I mean, I even always had a super strong gut, but I think part of what helped that was super, super early childhood extreme trauma
Mhm.
because I had to lean on what do I trust in my own body?
Mhm.
And then it continued. It continued well into my 20s until I finally broke the cycle and really finished my training and segued from frontlines work to private practice using my training in Indigenous medicine and then my background in high risk social work to help primarily women overcome trauma without the use of drugs or pharmaceuticals. Like, I don't do this just because I have the training and the job experience. I do it because I understand all the depths of hell.
Yeah, and then okay, I could pick up a couple things there. One, I'm going to pick up in the latter part of naturally coming to this and understanding feeling pain is a signal, and that all our body loves pathways to healing, and feeling pain is part of healing. Numbing that pain still leaves that pathway of energy alive in our body. And without that pain to the joy of what we saw on the opposite slingshot there, of the back of how much pain we've received, is to how we are able to heal. It's the through of that's the being birthed. It's we don't birthing is painful, and coming through that birth canal, you're like, oh shit, uh-huh. This no, I'm gonna go back in now. I'm gonna go back in the birth canal. This is too painful. Like, how much pain are we here to receive? It's actually a part of living. And if we go numb to it constantly, are you really living? Whether it's numbing out with food or shopping or, going into, drinking and drugs and sex and all of the things that we can go for sure because we seek pleasure. But do you really feel pleasure if you're really still numb? Yeah, maybe, but to the depth of how you actually can get grounded and how alive you can feel, and maybe you can receive is how alive you can feel on both spectrums.
Exactly. I mean, even the birthing experience itself could have been traumatic for you, and yet you don't ever remember seeing a vagina from that angle.
I was going to go to, you never really, there's this beautiful birth part. Yeah, I actually remember the first time, I love this. The first time I saw my vagina was that first birth. They bring this huge mirror. You're like, why are you bringing a mirror that I can see? And I had never done any, vagina gazing. I'm like, don't want to see a baby being born out of that. That's a dysmorphia thing. I'm like, that's what I look like. No, but on the other side too, after you have the baby, you don't really feel the pain. And that's the beautiful part too, is having so much pleasure on the other side is that you can dissipate the pain. Yeah. Thankfully, I did do vagina casing later and go, oh, okay. But it's still post 3 kids. Was it ever pretty? I don't know. And that's probably why I'm not gay. I love women, but I'm definitely not interested in that part too much. Just to say it's
See,
not pretty,
and
but it's
and like
interesting.
I've
But
always been pansexual,
mhm.
and through periods of my life, people would go like, "Gay or straight, gay or straight." I'm like, "No, pan. I don't care what's in your pants. I care what's in your soul,
Yeah. And
and
I,
and preferably your mind."
mhm.
If someone cannot intellectually stimulate me after healing through all of my crap, that there's no way I will connect with them even as a friend. If there's nothing going on in your head, I am not interested.
Yeah, I think that I relate to that as well. I think that's why we connected so instantly is that sense of it. You get to realize that the small shit doesn't really matter. And there are sweet times, and then that's what you really look forward to is this conversation. Is it sweet? Is it serving? Because it's elected.
It
It's an elected thing. We got on here because we elected to say yes to it, right? And even
exactly.
Hopefully somebody's listening to this conversation, and so there's piquing some interest that is above and beyond their normal conversations, so that they too may contemplate something on a new level and a new depth into their own understanding of maybe what emotions are. That feels weird, they're talking about that, or wow, that's interesting. Yeah.
right?
I
Or
have a
even like because of my life experiences, I am at the frontier of my field and I'm 27. And yet, my four closest friends are four women in their 50s.
Mhm.
And no longer do any of them live locally because I've moved around my fair share. But every couple of weeks, I hop on a call with each of them individually. And for 1 to 3 hours, depending on the day and the person, we connect, we laugh, we cry, we talk about anything and everything. And they
Mhm.
wonder, they're like, Reese, why me? I'm like, because you don't care. You just want joy and connection. You don't care about the status. You don't care about any actual differences we have because it's the little stuff. It's not the, well, humans deserve human rights and they disagree with that. It's no, she doesn't like olives and I do. That doesn't matter. That doesn't make or break a friendship. It's the connection.
Mhm.
And the connection piece is something that you get after you've healed your body, whether that be emotionally, physically, both.
Mhm. All of the above, yes. I'm interested in human design a lot in the last several years. Have you pulled your chart ever, or anybody
I
told
have.
what are you free to share? What is,
Uh,
do you remember?
if I'm remembering correctly, it's 5-1 generator.
Hmm. I have so many 5-1s in my life. I'm a 2-4 generator, and 2-4s and 5-1s do get along really well, and literally have so many that I've become I can almost start to notice when I have a really good connection with somebody that you might be a 5-1. That's what I'll go with. And so you're a fixer. So do you notice a lot of people come into your life thinking that you have their answer?
Yes, yes. And not just professionally, but personally.
Mhm.
They'll lean into the friendship with the you can fix my life. No, honey, I have boundaries. You want me to teach you how to fix your life? You can book a session.
Yeah. Well, that's
Like,
good. And yeah, the people will be drawn to you just based on the fact that you've gone through things. So that's almost assumed that you have answers. And by energetically who you are someone who is resourceful, and you can find out an answer. If you don't know it, you'll find it. And probably to the extent of endless hours, because you love to do that. And you're laughing. So I'm saying that that is a yes. And for the five, sometimes though, they'll come to you and find their answer, and then almost you might find if the people are coming to you that they drop off because
mm-hmm,
you either solved it and they left, or they just don't find the need anymore to be with you, which can be hurtful.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But it's also something that I've grown accustomed to. I'm now more so surprised if after someone finds their answer, they stay.
Mhm.
Because I'm now just expecting it. I'm like, no, this isn't even my trauma pattern. This is just how people interact with me as an individual.
Yes.
Most of them are just looking for answers.
It's a beautiful way to look at it. I believe that we all are. We all are looking for answers. We look to our parents until we're of age, and we look to, for me, I looked outside a lot to find those answers. And I was very disconnected. You used yours for connectivity in the beginning, where my childhood was, led me to feel like I was only to be used, or that I didn't have the own value. My own value was really quieted, because of existential, many childhood experiences that led me to believe of poor me. but to and I'm really general with it. I've realized I don't have to be specific with it, which is great because I get to hold my own stories. And just the thing is, everybody does have a story, and what we get to recognize is that how we at some point we get to ask why, or get to ask those questions, and finding different people like you who might have solutions is part of the game, and make it a game. But I like connections with people. So whether or not I find that you and I would talk now, what I find for myself as a 2-4 is that almost everybody I've known my lifetime will come back into my life and act like it's never, like it was just 5 minutes ago when it could have been 15 years ago. And I love that. I have friends everywhere, very few real close friends. But because of that nature, I feel I have friends everywhere I go, or I can make a friend pretty easily.
Right. Well, and my design paired with my personality. As long as like I lock in the foundation of a friendship, I have people that I've known for 20 years that I still am very close to, but don't talk to on a regular basis. It'll and just randomly one day I will formulate the message. Hey, I love you. I hope everything's going great. And that's it. I leave it there. I send it. And then, suddenly I get a 3-page memoir on what's been going on and I get caught up. And then we're back in the loop for a while. And then, drift again. But that's the ebb and flow, especially as adults. Our
Mhm.
capacities and really our desire, they ebb and flow every day. Like I
Yes. There's a transit right now, as we speak. We're in the end of June, and there's a transit at the um, gate is called the mountain. It's really to be still. And it's this essence, if you will. We just had the um, longest day of the year, and now it's really hot. And it's an opportunity to slow down. And when we got on the phone, we were talking about trauma. Trauma required me to slow down. And in the stillness is where I found myself. And I believe that that is one of the treasures of trauma, is this ability to find yourself in the low self or the high self. It's to find you wherever you are, and then get to go, okay, do I like that version of me? And for myself, I found parts I liked and I found parts I didn't like, and I got to working on that, but recognize that I then was the one creating my life.
it,
Even
it
the trauma, even potentially the trauma, like even that I would have morphed a genetic disease to happen to me. That sounds very victimy or something. I'm like, yeah, well, it did. It transmuted and it happened to me. And I've had doctors say, oh, you're 1 in a billion. I'm like, oh, thanks, as I flip you off. And it is to say, okay, this is what I got. This is my bag, and to stop playing the victim. And I didn't even realize I was playing a victim, but I do realize a lot of people with trauma can easily get into that because it sucks. Okay. It just sucks. Maybe we feel like we got the small straw, the long straw, the bad card, whatever. But it actually is because I believe, our soul is so strong. As you're saying, you're an old soul. There's something about this soul that says, I can go through this. I believe in that. I think it's biblical, that says you're only given what you can hold or handle. And I believe that going through this didn't kill me. It's making me stronger for a reason. And so that gives me this encouragement to stop feeling sorry for myself, stop sabotaging, or at least notice it, and then get over myself. And that was the biggest part, is more than the trauma, actually, of going years of doing all the, yeah, I was doing hemodialysis on my own with big ass needles. And, we all have our sad story. That's my sad story that I love. Actually, it's a badge. Yeah, I freaking did that because I didn't want anybody else to do it because they suck at it and I could do it better. And I went home and learned how to do that. I was one out of less than 1,000 around the United States who did their own hemodialysis back in early 2000s. And yeah, I learned some great techniques with that. It made me stronger. Um, was I perfect? No. Am I perfect now? No, but I do know things. It gives us this depth, this well, this huge bag of tools that I can throw out going, okay, I can handle this. And you can too. And
It,
that's what I love to share with other people, no matter what you go through. It's to pause, slow down, and see how strong you really are. Because what we've gone through is a signal of how strong we are. And where can you build from that?
exactly. And that's why even in my training as a medicine woman, my actual hemiplegia, not the abuse, not the sexual trauma or anything else, is what caused me to focus in my training on chronic pain management naturally, holistic rehab physiology,
Mm.
and then our traditional paths to trauma recovery and emotional management. That is a very, very well-rounded education. And yes, because of my personality type and the loving of thousands of hours of research on top of what was handed to me by elders in teachings and workshops was this vast skill mastery
Mm.
where I can sit down with Western MDs in a coffee shop and talk biomedical science for 3 hours and get kicked out of the coffee shop because they would like to close.
Well, and I love so we haven't talked about this yet, but I'm curious. Do you use breath work in some of your help in the work that you do?
I use many different breathworks.
Mm.
My favorite one or array of breathworks are the ones that help us go into a subconscious state where we can very easily reprocess and release our trauma so that when we come out, yes, it's, oh my God, that's a lot. But from there, you actually begin to unpack because you can see the root of your current state, the root of your trauma, wherever it may lead you. Last night, that session with a client, it was our third trauma release session, and we're doing this the slow way. It's been a year and a half. But it was last night, after the third one of these, that we got to the root of their everything.
Hmm.
That client now understands why their entire life is the way it is because they went back to that initial pinpoint of trauma.
That's that's it. Is there more? Because I love that. That is, yeah, when you can start to, I love breath work for that too, of the slowing down. I have done the ice baths and the hyper more active breath. I happen to love the more meditative yin and really slow, less breathing, and understanding how we can actually go within this program and rewrite everything and actually use breath work as this clearing uh, without having to do any work. It's like literally clears so much and automatically. Then we have this open, it allowed me to be open pretty quickly. So when I go into other people and still feel them rigid, they're rigid in their physical body, they're rigid in their emotional body. They're literally constipated actually a lot too because they're still holding on so much even in their gut and their bowels because they're holding. And when you can get in and at least show them how to breathe, I still like to be hands-on.
Mhm.
I'm learning how to get this more translated onto the internet where I can be visually seeing them and trusting the energetics of it, and I do. I'm working on it. And man, there's something freeing when you see them take that automatic deep breath and release themselves to allow themselves to even touch that point of what you just mentioned. That everything else, it's like pulling that one beautiful thread,
Mhm.
and everything that you've been holding on to then literally falls away. And all you see is their nakedness, the rawness of them. And they're like, oh, okay, now what do I do with this?
And
Like this is just stuff that has been holding on and covering who the frick we've been. And now the nakedness gets to be okay. I get to love what's here because this is me. And that was me when I was abused, when I was left. My interpretation of all that is what I made me. It and how many other people you went through things, and I see this a lot when I worked with obese women of losing the weight. They were putting on masks to feel safe. They
Mm-hmm.
were doing things
Mm-hmm.
to
Hide.
guard them and hide. Yes. And when they can see themselves raw and beautiful in any state, like even the angry, it's still a part of me. It took a lot for me. I'm 5'2", very much. I lived a quiet life. My husband can get loud, and I didn't like that because when I so many stories, I just didn't like loud and angry people.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I allowed myself to get loud and angry is when God, it's so cathartic to touch and at least to have touched that. And so when you can touch the pinpoint that can release everything, that's a gift of life.
Right?
And that's when you can rebuild. That's when you can see and be with yourself. And the steadiness and the calm that you have indicates that you were able to touch that point in yourself a long time ago, so much that it's now able to freely and encourage it in others, which is a gift you have. I can see it really quickly. I felt it
Right.
very.
Well, and it is my gift to just help people heal and move forward because especially people that don't have a background in trauma or turbulence that go and get their master's in psychology and see, well, I'm going to fix the broken people because they can be like me. That's not helpful. They have no empathy. They might
Yeah.
have sympathy, but they lack empathy. And no, I don't pity any of my clients. I wish that they hadn't gone through it,
Yeah.
but the good in me just sees the good in them. And it's no, come here, baby. Come to the safe space. Come let it all out.
Mhm.
And and that's even why I have a signature 50 week. Because for those that want to get it all done in a year, we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
It does.
then for people who want to take it slow and do like the 3 to 5 year version, that's fine too.
Mhm.
This work is hard. It's worth it, and it will change your life forever, but it's gonna take diligent effort.
It's so true. The differentiation part there was beautiful. And that's where I find the gift of maybe the old soul that this is your last time kind of thing is when we can recognize and just greet each other as humans. Hi, human. I see you. And how beautiful is that to just be recognized? I love doing that. It's literally like you see when you can start to see people and see the magic for who they are when they're lit, when they're behind their eyes. There are those who may not be. And I like that. It's not giving you sympathy. I'm not buying into your pathogen at all. And I'm encouraging for you to get into your body to release it, all of that stuckness. And that is, letting go sometimes of our ego, of whatever we've made it out to be, of who we need to be, and really coming to terms and loving our identity of who we are in our messiness. Stop, F perfection, there's no perfection. We are so different. And then we all try to go and be like each other. I've got to emulate this person. They're better than me. All of these other perceptions. My gosh, when they fell away, and they fell away pretty quickly when I woke up to it. It's like, oh, all of that shit I made. And then I kept. It's like all of these burdens just literally fell off of me. And I had zero tension in my shoulders. I felt lighter. And that's the stuff that creates disconnection and dis-ease, and their burdens and their bullshit. They're literally belief systems. The BS that you hold on to gets to be released. And that's probably what I mean when I say you can feel new sensations and new
Mm-hmm.
emotions into that. And that's fed. Ah, And that's when life gets to be like waking up every day and noticing, not so much like a Pollyanna, oh, life is great. I'm gonna paint everything pink. I had a coach say, I'm like, yeah, but really noticing who am I going to meet today? Who do I get to engage with?
It,
How is the day going to fold for me? And that is magical. It's new. It's where is the newness coming from? Not shiny objects. It's usually shiny people.
exactly. When I go out on a solo date intentionally by myself, could go with my partner, choose not to. I go to just have the food or the drink that I want to have. And then I always meet a stranger that needed to talk to me for however long they did. And it's not like I'm billing you for this. No, it's I was called here today
Yeah.
as if there was this magical spiritual connection and you got to have the conversation you needed with the wisdom that I hold. And yeah, I don't know everything, but I know what I know.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's beauty. That's humanity. That's really, if we can do that and dose that and give it to everybody, that would be the answer.
Right. What piece of advice would you give your younger self?
There's always a way. There's always a way. I felt stuck so much and limited. And there's always a way. There's always a way out. Dang. There's always a way back. There's always a way to speak up. There's always a way. And it seems short, but that is the key to a lot of my sanity coming back. There's a way. I'll find it. And geez, apologies. My own fault for not turning that off. Um, of recognizing that that was the gift of, that's a huge gift to see, oh, I am resourceful enough to do this. I married early. I don't need my husband to rescue me. I don't need anybody. And that was the way I came back home to me.
Right.
And so that's who I tell, besides it's going to be okay. There's always a way.
How can our listeners connect with you?
Thank you for asking. I am currently on Instagram at Traci, Traci underscore, nope, cancel that. It's coach underscore Traci, Traci. And also at Energetically Aligned by Design. This is a new company I have a partner with, and we're really coming together to do some amazing work to be the light for other women and to watch women get lit up and be more of who they're meant to be on this planet. So at Energetically Aligned by Design.
And as you all know, you can find me everywhere at Trauma to Bliss. Thank you all for listening today. And thank you so much for being here, Traci.
Thank you for having me, Reese.